Ladies and gents, boys and girls, welcome back. This is the Overtime Drive, SEC Unfiltered, or as we may now be known, that other conference's Unfiltered college football show, the best SEC football show on the internet. I'm Chris Phillips. He's Dave Shumate. He's Cole Thompson. Again, we got a jam-packed show tonight here on this Thursday, July the 24th, 2025. Before we get going, as always, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast. Where we get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. And as always, we are powered by our friends over at FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/SECU to join today to get started with $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FanDuel.com/SECU to get $250 in bonus bets today. Once again, this is the Overtime Drive, SEC Unfiltered, SEC football show, the best SEC football show on the internet. I am Chris Phillips. Joining me, as they always do, my good friends, Dave Shumate, Cole Thompson. Dave, what's going on? Great to see you, and Bear, glad you could make it, my man. What's up?
Yeah, Bears. Hey, Bear time's 5 minutes late, baby. It'd be weird if he was early. Honestly, I'd be a little freaked out. I think we may need to cancel the show.
Like I said off the air, for those of you that were following us during the spring and into the summer, that tuned into the Wind Up, our college baseball show, Bear has essentially taken over Harrison's role as being habitually late, and so that when we are early, it will be a surprise to you all. So we're setting the bar low. It's preseason for everyone. It's fall camp for everybody.
We got to get Bear lined up.
It's train. Listen, he's had a long day. I saw him this morning when I woke up. He's at training camp in the sweltering heat. I get it, Bear. It's okay. I know it's hot in Houston. I get it. It's all right.
I'm going to show up next week on Monday. It's going to be like 20 minutes early. I want to make sure that all of you are just staring at me. Dead's face.
I love that. I love staring at your face, Cole.
Exactly.
I love nothing more. Like I mentioned, by the way, guys, as we got going again, we are SEC Unfiltered, but per Greg Sankey, per really James Franklin, we might be that other conference Unfiltered. We can talk about that more. So that's a lot of the topic of conversation tonight. We will discuss some nonsense coming from Big Ten. Really, it's funny. Big Ten and ACC media days, yet all the headlines coming out of those have been about the SEC. So that kind of tells you something. Curt, Cignetti, Rhett, Lashlee, James Franklin, a lot of chatter from them, a lot of nonsense. We will get into and discuss big news day today with Donald Trump trying to save college football, Eli Drinkwitz getting a contract extension. We also have Boo Carter, who has essentially went MIA, maybe on a milk carton somewhere in the state of Tennessee. Also, make sure today you pour one out for Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Rest in peace. We also lost Ozzy Osbourne. It's been kind of an interesting week. Lost a couple of legends.
Threes, dude.
Well, it depends if you're a big Cosby Show guy, the kid off Cosby Show.
I didn't know that one. I wasn't a big Cosby Show guy
I
either.
was.
I wasn't a big Cosby Show.
I grew up on that. Heathcliff Huxtable in the middle of 9 o'clock on a Monday evening when I would be staying up late. I'd always have that on Nick at Night. That was one of my favorite shows.
Are you guys big wrestling guys, by the way? I mean, I know obviously who Hulk Hogan is and like was a Hogan fan, but I wasn't a wrestling guy. I've never been a wrestling guy.
Era, Monday Night Nitro guy.
Okay.
No, I was not. Not even a little bit. But the thing is that you didn't have to be a wrestling fan to know who Hulk Hogan was. You didn't have to be fully invested into the rivalry that he had with Macho Man Randy Savage or with Ric Flair to understand what an icon he was just into the world of, I would say, professional athletes at this point. Like, he was a pioneer that really kind of set the tone for an attitude and the way that you carry yourself with the charisma and the style of wrestling. You could appreciate that. And the characters and the bombardiousness that we got to see from him and the attitude, plus the reality television show that he had with his daughter and then with his wife, that was a very messy divorce. Like, you knew who Hulk Hogan was without having to know wrestling.
See, I thought Hogan was a little bit of an overrated wrestler. I think Ric Flair would even back me up on that.
Nature Boy?
Hogan
I don't know how
his matches would not go long. He wasn't like a tech. I think my dad's a big reader, and he read Ric Flair's book, and Flair says in there that one guy that he kind of resented a little bit was Hogan because he thought he was more of an entertainer than he was an actual wrestler. So I'm sure in some of those locker rooms it was a little bit like that, like the true wrestling technicians, a little bit like, dude, you're only in here because of entertainment. But Vince McMahon made it entertainment. But to your point, R.I.P. the Hulkster, baby.
I'm just glad. I'm just glad I made it to a point with you guys. We made it far enough in our careers where I heard Cole Thompson do a bit on wrestling. I never thought I'd get there. So how about that?
I was morbidly sad about Ozzy.
Monologue on the great Hulk Hogan,
dude. Well, listen. I can't do his voice. That's the only thing. I can.
I did think about you today when Bill Belichick took the podium. I was like, where's Bear at?
Is it two things here before we get rolling? Does it feel like the ACC does not let the head coach stay on the main podium as long as the SEC does? I mean, they're up there very short and quick, and it's like, get up and let's get the player up there. It's kind of. I kind of wish the SEC would adopt that with some of the guys, but you are right. The SEC needs to filter questions before we start. I mean, we don't need Lane Kiffin getting on and getting asked who's going to win the Texas-Georgia game.
We don't need and I love the kid to death. We don't need a Texas writer asking every head coach about Texas specifically and asking Mike Elko about his comments about Texas.
God, if I could have bet $1 million, I'd be amazing. I told you before that.
Dude, you did. You called. I mean, that was the easiest. That was the easiest bet of all time.
Guys, just remember, I'm going to be coming to my way to the SEC very soon. I mean, you all saw the reports today. I mean, it's
thank you for reminding me, Cole. I forgot we got to hit on that too.
Yeah. I mean, it's Coach Belichick to you, actually. But I mean, we can go ahead and talk about that later. Me and Jordan are very excited to be welcoming into the Carolina Blue with the SEC. I mean, that's my opinion on the situation. Whatever.
He got fired up about the fullback question.
I didn't see that.
Somebody asked him if the fullback's going to come back.
Of course he asked me there. A fullback was going to come on.
Up.
Like, if there's anybody that was going to happen, it was 100% going to be Bill. Bill's offense is 1,000% going to feature it. I don't even know what it's going to be. But, like, he'll get, like, the random defensive line, the middle linebacker that barely is playing. Hey, you want to go run some triple I option? Like, let's go at that. That's fun. Like, that's going to be him, 100%.
Okay, on that note, we will talk about that too, by the way. That, again, today was a really, really big news day. We also got, as Bear referred to, the UNC Clemson, which I feel like it's kind of old news. We've been talking about this for years, but resurfaces today. Maybe there's some new momentum. We'll get to that later in the show. The way we're going to start this show, really fun way, as we continue to count down the days to kick off. Obviously, guys, week 1 will be here before you know. Week 0 is just around the corner. Fall camp's about to get going. What are the top 5 games? And it can be conference game, non-conference, just the top 5 games that will shape the 2025 SEC football season. Now, we're going to give each of our selections, similar to on Monday when we talked the potential big upsets of week 1, who's on the verge of getting upset, SEC teams, obviously. We're going to do a snake draft. Here's the kicker with this one, and I think it's going to make it even more fun. Once someone picks a game, it's no longer on the table. So if chestnut checker. So if Dave is to say Texas, Ohio State, I cannot say that. Bear cannot say that. It is completely off the table. So once a game's been selected, you got to go a different direction. Certainly, again, we talked about it before. There are way more than 50. I mean, heck, you could probably go 20, 30 deep in regards to games that are going to impact the SEC football season, this 2025 season, in some way. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to give our 5 games that shape the SEC football season in 2025. No repeats. We'll go Dave, myself, and then Bear. Obviously, it's snake draft, so you guys know the format. That being said, Dave, you got the first pick, my man.
If you don't mind, I would like to I'd like to pass the torch to our favorite hibernation buddy, Colbert.
Yes!
Colbert Thompson. Let him go. Let him have the number 1.
So you want to go opposite? You want to go opposite?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me
start. That's fine with me. I know Bear loves to have the flair for dramatics, but
gentlemen in here.
This is flair for dramatics with 1. Yeah.
I'm not even going to care about the dramatics. I'm going to start off with the game that everyone should be focusing in on because of it's still, until further notice, is the standard of the SEC. It's Alabama, Georgia.
This is 5, Bear.
Oh, that was my next question.
Well, I mean, here, what do y'all want to? Yeah, I say just 5 games. I don't think you have to like power rank them. I say just 5 games. I mean, because here's the thing: as games get eliminated, it'd be a lot harder to specify what's my 3, what's my 2.
Vandy, Arkansas, number 1.
Right. So not necessarily power ranking, just 5 games that'll shape the SEC. It doesn't have to be in any specific order.
number one is Alabama, Georgia. And it's going to be that way just because of what we know about this long-standing battle between Kirby Smart and the Alabama Crimson Tide. And last season was the first year without Nick Saban to where we could finally ask the question, does Kirby have an Alabama problem or was it a Nick Saban problem? And Alabama, in their home turf, dismantled in the first half Georgia. There was the comeback, but then the Ryan Williams play that shook college football and put multiple Bulldogs on red alert and basically had to send out a PSA of, oh my God, please, for the love of God, this is villainy on the field. Like, that's what we saw with Ryan Williams just dismantling people. It became clear it was an Alabama problem for Kirby Smart. Georgia doesn't lose at home. Georgia has not lost at home since 2019. This is probably their weakest roster on paper, but also it's Georgia. On paper, they may be weak, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be weak. It still is Kirby Smart. It still is an offense that's going to be predicated on a balanced run game, and I think they upgrade at the wide receiver position. You still know that they're going to have one of the more daunting defenses, especially at the linebacker spot with C.J. Allen. I love Ella Maduzzi coming on in from Army. I think they're going to be decent on the secondary level. So if they can eliminate Ryan Williams in this matchup, Gunnar Stockton versus Ty Simpson. It's an early game of the year to where maybe you catch Ty Simpson slipping on the road. It just, to me, still is the signal of what is the SEC. Yes, Texas has kind of made its mark. And yes, Alabama has lost a little bit of flair underneath Kalen DeBoer. But until we see Kirby Smart finally show in a regular season game, I can beat Alabama. This, to me, remains the pinnacle of all pinnacle games. And if it happens this year, the tradition continues where you see Georgia win at home. But if not, again, maybe we're talking about Alabama having that 1-year hiatus before they return to the mountaintop as the face of the SEC. And it's just now with Kalen DeBoer calling the shots.
It's a great pick there. It'll be a great game. Maybe, just maybe, the SEC Unfiltered Tour will be in Athens. We'll run it back just like we did for last year when yours truly made his first ever visit to Tuscaloosa, and a memorable trip, to say the very least, down there at Bryant-Denny. All right, my first pick, I'm going to go very obvious where I'm going week one. Texas, Ohio State. I think I don't think the losers out of the college ball playoff conversation, obviously, but I think it will shape the way we look at the SEC football season, because like it or not, it's going to shape the way we look at the SEC. Texas, you are carrying the torch. You are carrying the SEC flag into Big Ten country. It's been back-to-back national titles for the Big Ten. There's the debate raging on about, is the Big Ten a better conference than the SEC? Heck, we're seeing shots all across the college ball landscape from coaches at the SEC. You know how you shut that up? You go in there and you win. And you go into the shoe and you win. So it's a big deal because we're going to see Arch Manning against Julian Sayin. We're going to see a Texas team that has national championship aspirations. But it is a big deal for the conference, too. I think it's going to shape the 2025 SEC football season from the standpoint of, I think we're all still going to believe the SEC is the best conference no matter what happens, but you can really put an emphatic exclamation point on it and say, see, there's your proof of concept right there. The SEC still reigns supreme. So I think it's going to shape how we view the SEC, how we talk about the SEC all season long, and especially as we go into the college ball playoff race and we're trying to determine those top 12. So my first pick, Texas, Ohio State, which we will be at in week one.
I'm going to go to the Friday night standalone game, Auburn-Baylor.
Ooh.
I think it's a big one. As y'all know, I'm higher on Auburn.
Great first pick, Dave. That's a very underrated first pick.
I'm higher on Auburn than most people. I don't want to go as far to say it's a must-win for Auburn. I do think the next game at Oklahoma would have to be a must-win if they were to drop this one, but I think I would feel very confident in Auburn getting to 8 wins if they were to get this win on the Brazos on that Friday night. So, but I'm glad this game is not just mixed in with some of these games on Saturday. This was either deserving of a Sunday kind of game where the South Carolina Virginia Tech game is, or on its standalone Fridays. I like it there. I think it's just a tone setter for Auburn. I think it's, to your point, CP, talked about out-of-conference games and playoff spots. I mean, the Big 12 were to win this, these are the kind of games they win to help their argument to get 2 teams in instead of just their automatic bid. So this is big for the Big 12 and Baylor, but I think it's really big for Auburn. Tone setter, real kind of just era setter kind of game. It's the one, if Hugh Freeze turned this around, you kind of look back on this one. So big game there in Waco on Friday night to open up the year.
And your second pick, Dave?
Woo!
Take your pick. A lot of games.
All right, here's another under the radar one. It's early in the year. We're not accustomed to it being this early. It's LSU, Florida in Baton Rouge, week 3, September 13th. LSU would already have played Clemson. If they drop that, they cannot afford to lose this one. I mean, if they're 1-2, 0-1 in league play heading into week 4 with a trip up to Ole Miss in 2 weeks, that's not good. Florida should start off 2-0 before they head to Baton Rouge, but they do go to Miami the very next week. So both these teams have arguably the 2 best teams in the ACC. I mean, I think it's those 2 in a gap, honestly, Miami and Clemson. And then you got, I mean, good chance LSU, I think, decent chance rolls in here with 1 loss. I mean, it's a must-win for both these teams. Neither one of these teams want to start off 0-1. I think we will learn a lot about both these teams from it. I think the winner of this, especially if it's LSU, if they won this game and even if they lost to Clemson and they were to get that Ole Miss win, you'd feel pretty good about them, even if they go lose at Alabama to get into the college football playoff. So massive for LSU to start off 2-1. Obviously, if you told them which one would they want, if you told them they had to split Clemson and that Florida, obviously you take the conference win. Big game for LSU. It'd be a tough one to drop at home. This could be a big one for Florida to go steal one and try to get back-to-back wins against LSU. So I like this game early. I don't think it's getting a lot of juice. I think people forget about it because it's so mixed in. And then obviously it's not usually where it is on the calendar.
Dave, I like the under-the-radar picks. I really do. But for my second pick, since you're just giving me the big-time matchups, I'm going to go to where Bear went, Athens, Georgia, but for Georgia, Texas, late in the season. I mean, I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory why it's going to shape the 2025 SEC football season. Very well could be a play-in game to the SEC championship. Very well could be, I mean, you name it, a college football playoff elimination kind of game, a game for seeding in the college football playoff. I mean, again, you just go down the list. Also, does Steve Sarkisian in Texas have a Georgia problem? The same way that Bear was talking about Georgia maybe having an Alabama problem. So, you know, obviously Texas is going to come in looking for revenge, but you get the game in Athens. We saw Georgia go to Austin last year and really dominate the Longhorns. And I believe, what was it, guys? I think Texas had 58 carries for 60 yards, I think it was, in 2 games against Georgia. So there's a lot of things that Texas is going to try to rectify and correct and get revenge, if you will. But Georgia trying to still show that they're the creme de la creme and they run the SEC, Kirby Smart and company. So, and also, too, selfishly, by the way, I was looking at the schedule, guys. If it plays out where, let's say, hypothetically, Georgia and Texas are undefeated, it could result in the SEC Unfiltered Tour for the first time ever making a repeat trip in the same season. We may have to do that if it were to come down to that, but we'll see. Got a long way to go. But Georgia, Texas undoubtedly has to be on the short list.
Stay with Texas, but we head to my state, and we head to a place that I believe we are going to be at this year because of it is going to be proof that this is one of the greatest rivalries in the sport. It's the Red River Shootout. And the reason why this game has so much prestige is because of Oklahoma's schedule. Oklahoma has a very good opportunity to enter this game in October, the day after my birthday, which would be awesome to go to just because it would be around my birthday. But like, they have an opportunity to be undefeated in this matchup. And so does Texas have an opportunity to be undefeated in this matchup. And what if John Mateer is as advertised and he just balls out? The competition is far from daunting for him making the jump from Pullman to Norman. And he beats up on Michigan and he beats up on Auburn. And they sit undefeated with Jaden Ott balling on out. And you get Giovanni Gibson playing really well. And Elijah Thomas is the next big time star at the wide receiver spot. Have you seen their schedule after this game? Because this is like the turning point of all turning points. South Carolina, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Alabama, Missouri, LSU to close out the year. Like, if you win this game, you're only promised bowl eligibility at this point. Like, that's it. You could go 0-6 the rest of the way. Or this could be the rally cry of, we know how good we are. We just beat Texas, a team that went to the college football playoff last year. And we still got the best ahead of us. And we can consistently show, listen, with the wins that we're stockpiling on up, whether it be Texas, and then maybe throw a South Carolina win in there, a Michigan game in there. If they're 9-3, that might be the only time that we can say a 9-3 team is more deserving than a 10-2 team from the Big 12 or a 10-2 team from the ACC because of their strength of schedule and the signature wins that they would have. maybe also as beneficial as their losses on the schedule. And then for Texas, just the standpoint, Texas, you want to prove that you are now the face of the SEC of these two. And you can do that by constantly winning the Red River Shootout and putting on a performance where Arch Manning is perfect. The run game is elite. You have exceptional wide receiver play. Malik Muhammad is breaking up passes left and right. Mookie Taft, who is the pride of Austin. Basically, I would say as Longhorn gets, goes and balls on out. You have Colin Simmons living up to expectation. Ant Hill producing a Buckus Award.
Everyone on defense, Barry.
Everyone on defense is shutting down John Materin. It's making
Chris Phillips
play. Everything. Just like everything is there. So it's like, it's such a big game because I think this is going to be one of those matchups that actually lives up to the expectation of why this rivalry is so stoic, why it has so much weight, and why it's just such a good atmosphere on game day in Dallas. Like, you are going to figure out, I think, in this game, the reason why I talk so highly of the matchup, why I say all the time, when you look at Red River Shootout, there's nothing like it in college football. So that's number 2 for me. Number 3, I'll go back to week 1. I'll stick with the game because of, naturally, it has to be a tone setter for both these teams. It's LSU and Clemson. I think it's QB1 versus QB2. I'm going to die on that take until further notice. I get it. You may not have Garrett Nussmeier as your QB2, but you sure as hell better have, in some capacity, in an order, Cade Klubnik as QB1 or QB2. Just the way that he has played, the way that he came on strong last year. Like, you guys got to remember, in that game against Texas in the college football playoff, he's the only quarterback to throw for 300 yards against that Longhorn defense. And he wasn't the problem. I mean, the defense was terrible for Clemson at times last year. So they went out and they said, screw it, we're going to hire Tom Allen. They brought in some really good pieces in terms of the recruiting class. They retained a lot of names, especially which got with TJ Parker and Peter Woods on the defensive end. Arian Terrell, I think, is a really underrated corner. Like, this is a good Clemson team. Not a good ACC team. Like, it's just a good national contending team. And if they win this game, that's going to carry a lot of weight for them to maybe run through the rest of the ACC and punch their ticket to the college football playoff, whether or not they win the ACC in Charlotte in December. But then you look at this from the LSU perspective. LSU has not won a season opener since 2019. And Brian Kelly has been there for 3 years. And in one fashion, it was a heartbreak. In the other two, he kind of shot himself in the foot. And so to me, when I look at all of that, I say, you got to prove veteran quarterback. You spent money in the portal. You went out and you hired your own defensive coordinator that you really were buying stock into. You put a lot of emphasis on bringing in certain talents on the defensive side. You have an offensive identity. You have a quarterback that should be willing to take that next jump forward the way that we saw Joe Burrow and the way that we saw Jaden Daniels. And it's just about setting a tone. Like, again, it's not a game that's going to end the season for either one of these rosters. They could still make the playoff. But I just look at it from the standpoint of, let's get out guns blazing. Let's show why things are different in Baton Rouge this year. Or for Dabo Swinney, why things are different in Clemson, South Carolina. Like, this is a new era of what is going to be sustainable success for both these coaches. And both of them, I think, have a little bit to prove in this game. So it adds a little bit more to, I think, the flair.
See, I don't have the Ohio State, Texas, and LSU Clemson because I think both of them all 4 of them still make the playoffs. And someone's got – just because the loser – you could have 2 really good football teams at LSU and Clemson. Someone's got to lose.
I think there's more pressure on LSU Clemson for sure.
Then Ohio State and Texas,
yes,
for sure.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I think so. I think the
out of those 4, LSU, but I still think LSU can lose that game and still.
They can for sure. They can, but boy, it is going to be, especially after the Death Valley Junior comments that we can talk about a little bit later from Brian Kelly. No, good pick though. Good pick. I like the picks, Cole. I'm going to go for my third pick. I'm going to go. You went first week of the season. I'm going to go last week of the season. The Iron Bowl, Auburn, Alabama at Jordan-Hare. I mean, at that one, who knows? At that point in the season, I know Bear and I are not as high on Auburn as Dave is. What if Auburn's a 2-loss team going in that game? Potentially knocking on the door of the college football playoff. What if Bama's got 2 losses and Auburn can play spoiler? And we've seen it so many times that rivalry at Jordan-Hare is just a different beast. It's a different level. You 2 guys know firsthand, just weird shit happens at night at Jordan-Hare in the Iron Bowl. I think that is one certainly that, and maybe it won't have as big implications, but I think it absolutely could. I mean, heck, what if? I mean, it doesn't really matter what Auburn's doing. They could be 5-6.
No, we've seen much less talented Auburn teams take Bama down to the wire.
Right. So is Auburn? Auburn doesn't even have to be fighting for a playoff spot. They could just be fighting to play spoiler. I mean, really, truly, and could knock Alabama out, and then it could actually Auburn could actually hurt the SEC, and you have one less SEC team get in. So I do think from how many teams the SEC gets into the playoff, maybe it's a does Bama go to Atlanta conversation, win or lose. Like they'll probably need to win that, especially if they're on the verge. So I think that's absolutely a game. And also too, like you could say every year that's a game that just shapes the SEC because it's one of, if not the best rivalry in all of college football. Certainly if both are good this year, it only adds to that. But that game in Jordan-Hare to close out the year could be a lot riding on that one.
Yeah, I could see that one being higher too. Because again, I had actually Auburn winning that game this year. So that's why, that's why I think it's actually.
Oh, Dave. Does Cruz know that? Does Cruz know?
I mean, Cruz was cheering for Florida the last time Alabama blew Auburn out.
Fair enough.
My next one. I've talked about this team already. I feel like this game's been really good the last few years. Kind of a tone setter. I think Ole Miss cares about it a little bit more, but Ole Miss LSU going to Vaught-Hemingway. I think if LSU can get, like I mentioned earlier, one of those games at Clemson or Florida, and I think they do. I think they split them, and they go win at Ole Miss, I think they got themselves set up pretty well to finish the season. Because you got some of your tougher games outside of Alabama and Oklahoma, both at home, South Carolina, A&M. I don't know. I can see them winning 3 or 4 to go make the college football playoff from that perspective. I think it's a massive game. I feel like at that point we'll kind of feel Ole Miss out because Ole Miss realistically, they'll be favored to be 4-0 rolling that game. Georgia State at Kentucky, Arkansas, and Tulane at home before LSU comes to town. And we remember the last time Vaught-Hemingway 2 years ago. That game was, if you didn't score that day, you weren't in the stadium. Everybody I think got a touchdown, got some touches that day. Both those defenses were abysmal in that game. But I think this game's going to set the tone. I think LSU feels really good about the back half of their schedule. If they can leave Vaught-Hemingway with just a minimum of 1 loss, undefeated. They're dancing in the streets at that point heading into their bye week. And Ole Miss, I think this is kind of their first – I don't want to say I'll say it, first real test. They would have some quizzes on the front end. Obviously, going on the road in the SEC at Kentucky's always one. Arkansas, when they're still not as banged up, could be okay. But I think that real test, real midterm, is when LSU comes to town. So I think this game's going to have some very big significance in the league this year.
And then number 4 for you, Dave.
Number 4. Let me mark that one off. I'm going
to see if I'm going to get my next pick.
I'm going to go Texas at Florida.
Dang.
I think that one's going to be.
That's one
very interesting.
You've already made the pick in that, right?
Yeah.
You're going Gators. Okay.
As of right now.
Okay.
Anything is
subject to change.
Bear could easily. Bear's right. I could easily see that game being a Florida win for sure.
The Swamp will have a chance to show its teeth.
They both are coming off bye weeks. Both have 2 big non-conference games. Obviously, CP picked the Texas-Ohio State game. Or was that Bear? One of y'all picked it already.
I did. Yeah.
And then we have Florida. Florida will be challenged twice in back-to-back weeks at LSU and at Miami. So, if Florida, again, both have bye weeks before this game, can roll in 3-1 into this game, the Swamp will be a total frenzy. From a state, you talk about from perspective, Arch will go at Ohio State again. Obviously, one of the top places to go play. But this will probably be the toughest outside of Georgia, depending what's going on. Arguably a top 2 hardest conference road game. Obviously, I don't know. I think this game could have a lot. It's a little bit closer to middle of the year, but I feel like we'll really figure out what this Texas team is. I think overall in this game, win or lose, doesn't mean their season's over, but I think we'll figure out a lot in this trip. And then Florida, I think, could really set themselves up. Again, you can only lose so many home games. You guys know that. It's hard as hell to go win on the road in this league. You can't leave home games on the table. This is when you feel like Florida's probably going to have. Man, you look at their schedule down the stretch, too, outside of Mississippi State. So I think this game's going to have some implications looking back on this season and once we get to November.
Side note, before I give my pick, Dave and Cole. If Florida is sitting at 3-1, comes off the bye and beats Texas, and they're 4-1, how seriously do the convos have to fire up about them being a playoff contender and potentially an SEC championship game contender.
You say that, and then they go to A&M the next week, and it would not shock me if they just totally snap down their leg there.
But at least that week, that following week, that would be like, I think, all we're talking about.
I would need, for me personally, and this is just because of knowing what would be this matchup, you got to beat A&M for me to start buying a little bit more into you. If you beat A&M the following week, at that point, fully
that'd be the perfect letdown spot after a big win, for sure. Yeah. I could see it. All right, cool. Number 4 for me, I'm going to go a little bit under the radar. We'll see if I take Bears. September the 20th, Oklahoma and Auburn.
Nope.
I think that is a game that could define.
I like that one.
I think that game could define the SEC season in a number of ways. Number one, I've talked about it a lot. It feels like these are the two teams that you feel like one of these two is going to exceed preseason expectations, is going to pop, if you will. Whoever's going to do it has to win this game. You just have to. I think both sides, I mean, talking to some of our Auburn friends, talking to some of our Oklahoma friends, they both feel like it's a must win. So in turn, with that being said, too, this game, guys, could shape the SEC from the standpoint of maybe it helps determine how many coaches we have get let go at end of season. Because maybe the loser of this one is able to steady the ship and turn it around. But the loser of this one, that season could go into a negative tailspin really, really quickly, and we could see a change at either place.
I mean, I guess unless both of them were undefeated rolling into that game, you know?
Right. So, I mean, it's not a definite, but I mean, especially like you were talking about, Dave, like Auburn, Baylor, God forbid Auburn loses week 1. And I mean, you talk about the pressure to win that Oklahoma game. My God.
Oklahoma staring at you right in the face.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Oklahoma perspective, you got Michigan week 2. If they were to drop that one, you know what I mean? Like coming that I think either way, even if they're both undefeated, I think that'll be a huge game for both sides, just about the overall feelings about where they are as a program, trajectory of the program, pecking order in the SEC. I think both fairly or unfairly have very high expectations. I think both have pretty damn high expectations. So, that's going to be a big one. I think it's going to shape the way we look at both programs. And I mean, potentially, both coaches and determining whether maybe there's a coaching vacancy there. So Oklahoma, Auburn for me, my number 4 pick.
Chris, I'm sure you're going to clip one of these two for social in a minute, so I'll just throw that out there. And I'm going to pick these two, and then I have an honorable mention that I know neither of you are going to take, so I'll wait until the end of it.
Jeez, but number 4, go 3 games in a row here.
No, I'm gonna wait until the very end because I know that neither of you are picking my last game, and I'm just gonna throw that in as my honorable mention. But number 1, I think it's South Carolina versus Oklahoma, and the reason why I mentioned that game is because of what happens the week before. This is a playoff game. This to me is a playoff deciding game because of Oklahoma's facing off against Texas in the Red River Shootout. What if they win? Perfect letdown spot. Will it be? Probably a Saturday night, ravenous atmosphere. Maybe you're a little exhausted from the trip into Dallas and you don't have 100% full capacity on your offense and you get really solid play from South Carolina's defense. But on the flip side, where's South Carolina playing the week before? They're down in Death Valley, facing off against LSU. That's the rematch of a game that kept them out of the college football playoff a season ago. If Nick Eamon-Warrior's touchdown counts, the War Chickens are that other team in the college football playoff. And we don't have to worry about Alabama or Ole Miss because they're sitting at 10-2. So that carries a lot of weight. The thing is that both these teams have a lot of questions going into the year. Some are wondering about the offensive line. Some are wondering about what do you do replacing veteran defensive talent like Danny Stutzman for Oklahoma or Kyle Kennard for South Carolina. But both have a quarterback that they believe can win the Heisman Trophy. Both have a quarterback they believe can be an all-SEC player. Both have an offense that I think is going to still be led by a player who will transcend all of the ailments and all of the insecurities and all of the issues, and they will be center stage. And this is the game to do it. Because if it's easy to go ahead and show up when the lights are at their brightest in a matchup against LSU in Death Valley or in the Cotton Bowl against Texas, but when you have the next game afterwards, how do you respond? Because that's what you're going to have to do in the playoff. That's what the playoff is supposed to be. After winning that game, okay, focus in on the next assignment. How do you respond after a signature win, a marquee moment? And so I think that carries a lot of weight for both these squads if you believe they can make the playoff. I think that I am very high on Oklahoma. I know I'm high on South Carolina. What you look like in this game is going to carry so much value to the rest of your season if you win, because if you know how to play after playing in a big-time game. So that's number 4. And number 5, it's the game that has got to be, I think, on every single calendar. Everyone's got to have it circled in permanent red marker because if it's played in Bryant-Denny Stadium, it's Alabama-LSU. It's Alabama-LSU. And the bottom line is that how you feel about LSU. And I'm not saying that it has to happen this way. I'm saying that history has said it this way. If you believe that LSU can win a national title or compete in a national title, they have to win at Bryant-Denny Stadium. 2003, won at Bryant-Denny Stadium. 2007, won at Bryant-Denny Stadium. 2011, it was the 9-6 game. They didn't win the national title, but they played in the national title after winning at Bryant-Denny Stadium. And then 2019, winning at Bryant-Denny Stadium in the classic game between Joe Burrow and Tua Tagovailoa. If you're big on what you think Garrett Nussmeier is going to be in year 2, if you think that this defense is going to be night and day different from a season ago and more consistent with the additions of Patrick Payton and Jack Pyburn and Tamarcus Cooley and AJ Halsey and Demantor Mullane, and then you throw in countless other of the young players. If you think that it's going to be different, they can prove by going into Bryant-Denny Stadium and shut up the Crimson Tide. And then if you're Alabama, at this point, you want another signature win. You want to say, oh, you call Death Valley Jr. Clemson, South Carolina. We call Bryant-Denny Death Valley 2.0 or Bryant-Denny Jr. Or when we go travel to your place, we don't call it Death Valley. We call it Shh Valley because if all you do is play silent against us. Like, that's got to be the mantra that you play with. And you think of the offense is going to be completely different with Ty Simpson leading the charge. So it's going to be a completely unique way of winning football because last year you won with the ground game of Jalen Milroe. This year you might win with the passing attack of Ty Simpson. And you're doing it in front of your home crowd. And Dave and I know this, and you've seen it, Chris. There's one game that Alabama fans wake up for, and it's 4 quarters, and that atmosphere is one of one. It's one. And it feels like this is going to be the game. You think that Brian Kelly, you think that Garrett Nussmeier, you think that LSU is going to be one of those teams that is on the run to the college football playoff, you got to win at home. And if you are LSU, you got to win at Bryant-Denny Stadium because history says if you win at Bryant-Denny Stadium, you have a shot at winning a national title.
Guys, for my 5th and final pick, there's a lot of games we could choose from here. I'm going to go to a game that we used to look forward to every single year, and I think it's getting closer to being back to that level. It used to help us determine the SEC East every single year. That is the world's largest outdoor cocktail party between Florida and Georgia in Jacksonville. Kicking off the month of November the 1st. I think and there's a lot of opportunity before this, obviously. Dave mentioned it with the LSU game, the Miami game, the Texas game, the A&M game. But I think if Florida can keep their head above water to this point, like I think if Florida is going to make an unexpected run of the college football playoff, certainly there will be statements made before this, but this will be the game, I think, that they pull a big upset and potentially kind of pave the rest of their way to the month of November to making the college football playoff, probably finishing 10-2. Again, you kick off the month of November with it. Everybody remembers November. I think for Georgia, same thing. It's building momentum towards the end of the season. I think it'll just go a long way in the way that we look at the way the 2025 season worked out. I think we're back to the cocktail party being a big, big part when you talk about top games in an SEC schedule, top games in just the college football landscape. I think the cocktail party is making its way back. Last year was a really good game. There was a lot of conversation. If DJ Lagway doesn't get hurt, does Florida win that game? And a lot of people, including myself, felt like that more than likely would have been the case, being there in person, watching it. Florida will get their shot to prove that they were right this season. What does Georgia look like at that point in the season, too? I think it'll be really interesting. But I think the cocktail party could go a long way in shaping the playoff race, the SEC title race, and just the overall SEC pecking order.
My final one, I'm pretty confident this one's going to have some playoff implications for at least one of these teams. I'm going to go LSU at Oklahoma to end the year. So, as you can tell, I had a couple LSU, had some Auburn games, kind of the teams I think that are going to be up in the contenders from that perspective. I mean, You're going game by game. I hated I had Oklahoma 8-4 and finishing 9th or 10th, wherever I had them. I thought they were a little higher than that. But no, I think it wouldn't shock me if that game winner finishes 10-2. Maybe Oklahoma's a 9-3 team. And the SEC gets 5 in with their strength of schedule. So I think that game's going to have some kind of impact for LSU, Oklahoma, or even for both teams. So I thought that one was kind of still on the board there. But no, I mean, we could go 20, 25 games and make a case.
Yeah. I was like,
Bear, you had an honorable mention?
Yeah, I'm sorry. And I had to throw this one in here because of I don't believe in the coach, and I just don't think it can be possible. If it does, I don't know how you survive it. It's Vandy Auburn. It's Vandy Auburn. And the reason why is for one simple analogy. You can't lose to Diego Pavia 4 times and show your face on the plains of Auburn. You can't. You simply cannot do it. And remember, he lost when he was at Liberty. He lost when Diego Pavia was at New Mexico State, marched on into Jordan here and won that game. He lost to him when he was at Vanderbilt. You're going to Vanderbilt. At this point in the season, that's the game right before the bye week. It is perfect scenario to be fired o'clock if you do not meet expectations. If you lose to Diego Pavia 4 times, I just don't see a scenario where you are proven to be the guy at a place like Auburn. With those expectations, with how much money they're throwing into the NIL collective, with how much they've been proving that they've wanted to get back to the mountaintop, with how much they've been able to land premier recruits, with how much they've been able to land solid transfers, all of these things added on up, and you're still not able to get past Vandy, and you of all people, Hugh Freeze, cannot get past Diego Pavia? Like, I'm sorry. Like that, South Carolina and Oklahoma being on the board was a little bit too rich for me to pass it up. But I had to mention this game. I had to. Like,
what if they lose this game? He goes 7-5. I think he gets retained still.
You
got to think, dude. $21 million. They're not going to pay that. If it's like technically 7-5 is an improvement.
Sure, but I also think that they're going to go 2-4 to begin the year. So it's like if I believe that, and you lose then this game, that puts you.
No, I'm saying 7-5. And
right,
that was one of the losses.
But I feel. How do you also play in those games? If you're getting blown out by Baylor and you're getting blown out by Oklahoma and you're losing by double digits at A&M on the road, I think that might be enough to say, you know what, at 7-5, we still can't hold out. Like if you're close in those games, maybe we can have a conversation. But if you're losing by 20 and then you lose to Vandy in Vandy by Diego Pavia, who again, we can talk about him all we want. It still is Vanderbilt. They still have their limitations of a roster, and you were one of the better teams when it came to the transfer portal this offseason. If you lose to Vandy, the bye week right there, it's a perfect spot to say, you know what, the last 2 games, we'll pay the buyout. We got to start fresh, and we got to start a head coaching search.
I think South Carolina, Missouri is another under the radar.
Yeah.
That one.
Early in the year.
I had that one was one. I thought Oklahoma, Ole Miss was another, especially just because of if you believe in Austin Simmons the way that Dave and I do. Like, if he ends up having a great game in that matchup, does that carry some momentum going down the stretch? And I also thought Texas versus Texas A&M. It's not that I do believe that Texas A&M is going to be – Texas A&M this year may be 8-4, and their record is maybe warranted of an 8-4 record because of how their schedule pans out. They may be 9-3. But, like, also remember last year, if they would have won in College Station, even if they were 9-3 and Texas was 10-2, they would have gone to the SEC championship game because they would have had the head-to-head win. So it's like there still carries a little bit of weight. And also it's the first time that they're playing in Austin in over 10 years. That's got to mean something.
A couple games that I'm surprised nobody mentioned. Or, we had our limitations on how many we could give. But Tennessee, Georgia, I think is a game you could have mentioned.
Nico leaving that game lost some juice.
I agree. I don't disagree with that. Texas A&M at Notre Dame.
Yeah, I thought about that.
Hey, maybe Arkansas, Notre Dame. Could have thrown that one in there for the conference. Some people I've seen picking that upset. I don't know that I will, but South Carolina, Virginia Tech, maybe you could have said Oklahoma, Michigan. I'm surprised nobody said Oklahoma, Michigan. That's a big one. Obviously, we were trying to think outside the box. Like we said, you could have gone 20, 25, 30 games deep. Guys, before we move on from this, we did have a few responses from some folks on social media that voiced their opinions. I want to start with this one so we can get the vibe killer, the buzz killer, if you will, out of the way. If you ever watched Family Guy, Buzz Killington. That's what this guy, respect to him, ECD3 at EDAWIK. when asked which games, in your opinion, will most shape the 2025 SEC football season and why. He says none. The regular season is mostly meaningless.
Screw you. Shut up. I hate you.
I can't even tell who he's a fan of, to be honest with you. No clue. Okay, some of the other responses. Rational Sooner at OU Stats and News says, I think Oklahoma, Texas, both could be undefeated going in the Red River Shootout, although Texas has a little tougher road. Shout out Rob from Moore, Oklahoma. Rob
Moore,
from
man. That's
Moore.
my favorite town.
Moore, Moore, Oklahoma. Shout out to Rob. Yes, that was the one. I believe Bear brought that up. Red River Shootout, certainly going to be a big one. Christian Bond at C Bond, who is an Aggies fan, says Florida at Texas A&M could be a defining game for both programs fairly early in the season. I don't think we didn't mention that one directly, did we? We mentioned it talking about indirectly.
Yeah,
indirectly we mentioned it talking about the Florida.
But
Texas
yeah, I
game.
agree. It could be one too.
Yeah. Finally,
it's gonna be a good rushing attack.
Yeah, that'll be a really good matchup. A&M's rushing attack against Florida's front seven. Drew Avett at Drew_Avett 24. He is a Gamecocks fan. Says South Carolina at LSU. If both come in undefeated, winner of that could find themselves in Atlanta possibly.
I won't go that far yet. What I will say is that will carry so much weight when it comes to the college football playoff, especially if these two teams are sitting at 9-3 or something along those
South
lines.
Carolina will be what, 2, 4, 5, 5-0?
They could be 5-0.
They very well could be 5-0 going to that game.
South Carolina will be favored in every one of those games.
Yeah.
Missouri, Kentucky, the two non-con games.
Yes, Virginia Tech, South Carolina State, Vandy at home, which is dangerous.
Yeah.
And then at Missouri and Kentucky.
Yeah.
There's a very good shot that if we think Lenore Sellers is going to be as advertised and the defense isn't going to miss that much of a drop-off, they could be 5-0.
Anything less than 4-1's a bad first 5 start.
And then I would say LSU 4-1 potentially.
If LSU could roll in the South Carolina game with 1 loss, they're in good shape.
Yeah, because you got the Clemson game, you have the Florida game.
That means they went 2-1 against Clemson, Florida, and Ole Miss.
Yeah, I think you'd be okay with that.
They'd be fired up about that.
I'd be content with that. 4-1, I'd easily say would be fine. 5-0,
they only had 1 loss. I mean, it means they went 2-1 against Clemson, Florida, and Ole Miss. 2 of them being on the road. They'd be fired up about it. Hell, if you gave Brian Kelly that option, coach, you only have 1 loss after the South Carolina game. He'd be like, sign me up for that.
Or going into the South Carolina game or after the South Carolina game? Because
either or. I think he would say, yeah, I'll take that. Because they have the bye week for South Carolina, and they go at Vandy, host A&M, and then I feel like LSU. If you told me LSU before or after the South Carolina game only had 1 loss, I feel pretty good about them making the playoffs.
I'd feel great about them making the playoffs at that point.
Same. All right, guys, let's move on. Again, that was a lot of fun. 5 games that'll shape the 2025 SEC football season. If you got any opinions on it, you agree with us, disagree. Hey, who won, by the way? Who do y'all most side with? Dave, myself, or Cole? Let us know in the comments. All right, guys, let's talk about something. This week has been really interesting. Last week at this time, us 3 were departing from SEC Media Days in Atlanta, Georgia. This week, it has been Big Ten and ACC Media Days in Las Vegas and Charlotte, North Carolina, respectfully. But it seems like most, if not all, the conversation, or at least the headlines coming out of both, have been about the SEC, not about their respective conferences. Also, I didn't even mention his name in here, but James Franklin with the That Other Conference comments. Commissioner Greg Sankey having some fun with it, dropping an updated SEC logo that is TOC, That Other Conference. Good on you, Sankey, showing a little bit of fire, throwing a zinger out there. But want to focus specifically on the comments from Rhett Lashlee, SMU head coach Rhett Lashlee, and Indiana's head coach Curt Cignetti. Guys, let's talk about these individually. Rhett Lashlee first. Essentially talking about the depth or lack thereof, in his opinion, of the Southeastern Conference. Had this to say, quote, the SEC has had the same 6 schools win the championship since 1964. Not a single one has been different since 1964. That's top-heavy to me. That's not depth, end quote. Guys, I feel like Rhett Lashlee, he literally made the point why the SEC is the best conference in the country. 6 is not a small number.
If you want to throw in 8 national champions in that time period too.
Right. I don't really understand the point. It's almost like we've all said something before where we've said it and we're like in the midst of making the point, but in the back of our mind, we're like, ooh, it's not really hitting like I kind of thought it was. That sounded better in my head than when it came out. Like I kind of wonder, kind of like the knob thing from Bear.
Yeah, loyalty can be blind. Again, it's like to that classic example of, so tell me about this girl. Well, she's nice. It's kind of like, well, I worked with Rhett when he was at Auburn. Like, great human being. 2 sets of twins, actually. What's the chances of that? 2 boys and 2 girls. 2 sets of twins. Only wanted to have 2 kids. Great kid. Great guy. Wife's phenomenal. Dude, I think he is a phenomenal fit at SMU. If I was him at this point, I wouldn't leave. I'm to your point, CP, what you said. I think it's almost a little bit of blind loyalty to the league that it's like, I'm going to come stand on the table for the league because we were up. Me and Clemson were kind of the league reps last year. I feel like I need to kind of stay up for the league. It's like, yeah, it's kind of like, I bet afterwards, listening back, he's probably like, because people have just crushed him for it. I mean, I get it. You're standing up for your league. If you really thought he believed it, I mean, let's be honest, this guy played in the SEC. I think if you put him on a polygraph test, he would not pass if you really asked him his real thoughts on it. I mean, he knows this is just a company line thing, is what it is. Probably, again, behind closed doors, he knows the SEC from top to bottom. He coached in it. He was a GA in it. He played in it. I mean, come on, I think he knows the answer. He knows who cuts his checks and what school that member institution is a part of. It is what it is. I would bet a lot of money he doesn't even believe these comments.
Can I make a bigger suggestion here? Because I'd say the exact same thing about Brent Venables and Steve Sarkisian if they made this comment. Hey, totally cool that you want to say this and you want to defend your conference. Maybe don't be here for a year before you're the one sticking your neck out for the ACC. Maybe let that happen with NC State. Maybe let Syracuse handle that. Maybe let Miami or Clemson do that kind of talking because they've been around the block for a minute. You just got here. Like
Fran Brown couldn't either, man. He's only been there a year.
No. I mean, like SMU just joined the ACC. Like they just left the G5 level. It's like Oklahoma and Texas. Oh, the SEC were the best conference ever. You know what? If Brian Kelly or Kirby Smart want to say that, LSU and Georgia, they've had a little bit more time to season on up. They kind of matured a little bit. We're cool with them saying those things. I also understand what he's supposed to say at this standpoint, but let's just also call it as is. You have one team that has been nationally relevant at a consistent basis for the last decade plus. And then you've had another team that's been flirting around this 10-win roster, and then a bunch of teams that have the one and done. Like, that's the ACC. And that's also kind of the Big 12. And I love those conferences. I really do. I love everything about college football, including the conferences that don't stack up to the Big 10 and the SEC. I think it's wrong that we don't talk about them in a more prominent light because there are some teams that deserve respect. But what the SEC has is continuity with 5 or 6 teams that every single year are going to be good. They're going to live up to the expectation. Alabama, Georgia, I think Texas joining the league. They're always going to be in the running. I think at this point, you have to give a little bit more credit to what Missouri is doing. I think you got to give some credit to what Tennessee has been doing. I think Oklahoma is not going to be sitting down for long. I think Florida's on its way back up. Auburn can have those years. South Carolina, maybe this team that comes on up. And we're going to see sustainable success. Ole Miss is one that, like, they never had an 11-win season, let alone a 10-win season before Lane Kiffin got there in the regular season. And guess what? Both have been accomplished. They've been a team that's nearly flirted with the college football playoff. But Pitt and North Carolina State and UNC and SMU and Virginia Tech and Miami and all these other conferences, they have one good year. It's 1 year where they come out of the woodwork and they dominate with Kenny Pickett and then with Jordan Travis. And then you can throw in Brad Kaya when he was there. And it's awesome. But you don't sustain that. The next year you go 5-7. So it's a roller coaster of all these teams that, yes, they may end up having that season where they win the ACC, but then they go 5-7, 3-9. They fire their coach. Then they're 9-3. Then they're 8-4. Then they're 7-5. Then they're 10-2. Then they're 5-7. Then they're 2-10. And that's the ACC, where you don't get that with the teams at the very top of the SEC. You get sustainability. And honestly, I would much rather have 9 or 10 teams that are sustainably always going 8-4, 9-3, 10-2 than the roller coaster that we see in the other conferences. So sorry, Like it doesn't sit with me at all when it comes.
See, I actually thought the SEC was deeper last year than it was top. I didn't think it did have I think if you rank the top 4 teams of the Big Ten and SEC last year, I think the Big Ten had the better top 4 teams. But I thought the SEC was deeper. So it's funny these other conferences kind of think of it differently, and it's like, I agree with you. I think the Big Ten last year and for the last 2 years has been better than the SEC at the top. But I think the SEC still depth-wise to that 10th spot is still there.
But it's like, for me, when I argue it, it's listen. Would I love to see there be would I love to see the ACC and the Big 12 have more sustainable success? Yeah, I think it'd be good for the sport. But keep in mind, last season Utah joins the Big 12, and Oklahoma State with Mike Gundy. They're the favorites. They're the favorites to go to Arlington. The team that was picked last won. You know who was picked last year in the SEC? Mississippi State. You want to know who finished last year? Mississippi State. You know what you're getting when you go to that conference. You have a good understanding about what you get when you get to the Big Ten. So, yeah, that's where I have the issue. There's 2 ways of thinking about this. The first is you have depth in terms of, any single year a team can win the conference, which, yeah, in the ACC and the Big 12, they can. But then there's also depth in terms of the quality of talent that you're going to see on a Saturday afternoon every single year. It's sustainable in Oxford, Columbia, College Station, Gainesville, Knoxville, Austin, Tuscaloosa, Athens. You don't know if you're getting that in Waco and Manhattan and Ames. And then if you want to throw in the ACC, Coral Gables and Raleigh and Chapel Hill and Durham every single year. You don't. And then you can see a team randomly come out of nowhere and they impress. I'm very, very much high on Pitt this year. I think Pitt is going to be the sleeper team in the ACC. I'm very high on Georgia Tech this year. I think Georgia Tech has a shot at going to the college football playoff. I really like what Brett Key is building. But am I going to like as much of what Georgia Tech is going to be in 2027 the way I'm going to like what Oklahoma's doing in 2027? Probably not, because it's a one-and-done year. That's what programs like that are in the ACC. So it's not a depth thing. It's we have our shot, we got to take it now kind of feel.
Yeah, all these rosters are mostly portal heavy. That's why SEC builds more from homegrown. That's would answer your question, Bear.
I agree with what you said, Dave. I think if you gave Rhett Lashlee the lie detector test again, I don't think he even believes what he said. I don't think he even believes what he said. I think
that's why I don't get too worked up about it. I know
he's trying to win the podium and win his fellow coaches, and what is it? Jim Phillips, I think, is the commissioner there.
Jim Phillips,
right? Yeah, Jim Phillips, and he's trying to win them over. But I think in his heart of hearts, he's probably going home to probably on the phone with his buddies, like, just taking one for the team, I guess. Whatever.
Do me a favor. You get a phone call tomorrow, and you are Rhett Lashlee, and it's Greg Sankey saying, SMU, we would like you to come join the SEC, but you got to make an open apology. By the way, we're going to add you to the media rights contract. SMU is hightailing it over to the SEC immediately.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah, there's no question. Guys, maybe the bigger splash, bigger wave was made by this comment. Rhett Lashlee's was certainly it caught eyeballs. We're talking about it, made headlines. This one, though, and I think especially the messenger is what got people going. That being Indiana's Curt Cignetti, when asked about why Indiana canceled their, I believe it was a home and home with Virginia, he had this to say, quote, "That was a scheduling philosophy that began before I was hired, but I did sign off upon being hired before our first season. Look, here's the bottom line. We picked up an extra home football game, and we play 9 conference games. The 2 best conferences in college football, any football guy that's objective will tell you, are the Big Ten and the SEC. 12 of the 16 SEC teams play 3 G5 or a FCS game. 12 of those teams play 36 games, 29 G5 games, and 7 FCS games, and 1 less conference game. So we figured we'd just adopt an SEC scheduling philosophy. Some people don't like it. I'm more focused in on those 9 conference games," end quote. And as you can imagine, folks, I'm sure you've seen it by now, SEC social media has had a field day with this. God, Curt Cignetti's an asshole. He loves to talk shit.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
No, Cignetti was a wide receivers coach when I was an assistant in Alabama, and deal with them. They're a client of ours at QuickU. Sig said he believes now the opposite of Rhett Lashlee here. I think he actually believes this. I think Sig's usually one of those guys. He's quiet if he has nothing to say, but when he does say something, the guy honestly believes it and doesn't blow smoke. I mean, it's like what Saban used to on game day say, man, one thing you didn't learn from me is not to talk shit. Yeah. So I think he honestly believes this. I think he's wrong. I think he's a great football coach. You can go back to James Madison days, but I mean, come on, dude. The scheduling part that gets me with the SEC, and I feel like if all the SEC just played all their non-conference games at the beginning of the year, I don't think anybody would have any kind of issue.
Well, because the SEC got
in the middle of conference play.
The SEC got demonized for years for the quote-unquote cupcake Saturday.
Second to last week.
That's what really started that, was the whole cupcake Saturday thing. But, I mean, dude, and there's been so much published already to this point. Chris Marler, shout out to him. My God, he's made 20 graphics about the scheduling that the Big Ten does and the SEC does. And, you can literally just look at this year. I mean, look at who the SEC is playing out of conference. Clemson, Ohio State, Virginia Tech, Syracuse, Notre Dame, Michigan.
The only team you used to bash about their non-conference scheduling was Florida. Remember, for the longest, Florida
played nobody
to go play a non-conference game. They've gotten a little better, but for the most part now, I mean, it's college football. Most teams kind of play one decent Power 4 team. Now, Virginia Tech may end up not being great, but you know what? It's a solid Power 4 conference game, dude, for non-conference game.
Well, and I think what irks me too is and I agree with you. I think Cignetti believes what he's saying, which, dude, I think it's just the Big Ten people are pissed off because the SEC refuses to bend the knee and go to non-conference games. And maybe they will at some point. I mean, who knows? But it seems like they're pissy about that. And they want to flex on we've got non-conference. It's okay, you got non-conference games. You got to play Rutgers. Are you really bragging about that? Again, we've established the depth of the Big Ten. It's not good. It's not even remotely what the SEC is. So it's like they're sitting on the shoulders of Ohio State and Penn State and Michigan and telling you how tall they are and trying to talk shit down. It's like you're literally sitting on their shoulders.
Yeah.
Don't flex on everybody when last year you played the school of the deaf and blind and I not to bring up the fight again, the combo again, the debate again, but God, this is why we shouldn't have let Indiana in. I mean, they were frauds. They were frauds. That was the worst 11-1 team you've ever seen in your entire life, and we let them in because the 11-1 record couldn't be ignored when the fact of the matter is they weren't that good. And now Curt Cignetti's acting like he's on some high horse where, we're going to schedule like the SEC. Dude, give me a break.
But that's the problem, dude, is that they did go 11-1. And I'm not saying that was right, but also when you go 11-1, you get that reward. My problem that I have with this entire thing is nothing to do even with Indiana not scheduling a conference game. You canceled against Virginia. Can we also just say that real fast? You canceled against Virginia. It wasn't like you canceled against Alabama. You didn't cancel against LSU. You didn't cancel against, I'll go Clemson in the ACC or the Big 12 champion Arizona State. You canceled against a 5-7 Virginia squad that may or may not know who their head coach is when you face off against them. If you can't beat a Virginia team, what are we supposed to say that you're going to do when you face off against really quality competition in your own conference? That's where I come to. It's a team that hasn't been great since the one lone season underneath Bronco Mendenhall. And you're sitting out here and talking about the SEC. And yeah, I've already seen the list of the guy exposed in the SEC, taking out all those signature games for the SEC. LSU doesn't play Clemson and Alabama doesn't.
Auburn, Baylor.
Yeah, he didn't, but he made sure that he didn't mention those games. And that also was the difference. The reason why the SEC, we kind of give a little bit of flack to when we say, they only play 8 conference games. Their 8 conference games are tougher than a majority of the rest of the Big Ten schedule with their conference games. And then a lot of these teams in the SEC are willing to at least schedule a non-conference game against somebody prominent. Now, they schedule it years in advance, and if that team doesn't hold up its end of the bargain, it is what it is. But when you thought Florida State and Alabama scheduled each other at the time, it was going to be a really good game. Clemson versus LSU, when they scheduled against each other, you thought it was going to be a really good game. Baylor versus Auburn, you hope is going to be a really good game. And so that has to count for something. But then with the SEC, we also can look at the strength of schedule and the strength of record. And every single time that we point to it, it says, oh, look at this. The 7th best team in the SEC would have the 2nd or 3rd toughest schedule in the Big Ten. The team that ranks 14th in the SEC would slightly have a tougher schedule than most teams in the ACC. And then the team that ranks 16th in the SEC, well, maybe that's in the conversation that we could talk about alongside Indiana. That went 11-1, that faced all the bottom half of the teams in the Big Ten and only faced off against one ranked opponent at the time, and they got blown out. That has to count for something. So I'm not here to go ahead and say that the SEC should have moved to 9 conference games, but the reason why they won't is because of why are you going to cannibalize your own conference and then get shot in the foot?
Well, it's a media deal, Bear. I don't think it has anything to do. You're leaving money on the table. You're essentially giving ESPN 16 more free games for you almost. Until that contract moves out, you gotta. No, I think everybody needs to play the same amount of conference games. I think across the board, that needs to be uniform.
But what I'm trying to say is that if let's say that it was a 9 conference game, and let's say they reworked the media rights deal, the SEC would want to guarantee that they're not going to be punished for it, and they're going to have the most representation because of the revenue that they bring in. So they're not going to schedule that extra game if it just hurts them in the long term for not getting more teams in the college
football playoff. The coaches don't want that, but the coaches have no say.
Right. But what I'm saying is that if that's what Greg Sankey is going to do, and by the way,
that's what he's going to do.
But more power to Greg Sankey for doing that. But also at the same time, why is Greg Sankey worried about what Tony Petitti or Jim Phillips or Brett Yormark has to say about the conference? He's doing what's best for his conference. Just like, again, us in this business. I love other people that work as content creators. I always am trying to find people that want to do collabs and build rapports, and that way we have good relationships with. But if it's between me looking out for SEC Unfiltered or looking out for a buddy that I just am close with, I'm choosing this because this is what I'm focusing on. It's the same thing. You focus in on your conference. Tony Petitti should be doing the exact same thing for the Big Ten. Brett Yormark should be doing the exact same thing for the Big 12. Jim Phillips should be doing the exact same thing for the ACC. They should be making these moves that best situate their conferences to make sure that they have representation and quality representation in the playoff. That's just what you should be doing.
I don't disagree, Bear. I think it's a lot of it, though. Number one, there's shots being thrown at the SEC unsolicited, and I think Sankey feels responsible for defending his league. I think also, too, though, even if you're doing your own thing, one side, for example, the whole playoff thing, one side wants the AQ, one side wants the 5+11, maybe one side doesn't even want to expand. So there's always just going to be debates or arguments. What's the best for the greater good of the entire? Everybody wants to fix college football. At least that's what it comes off to me as. Everybody wants to fix it.
But how much was actually broken before?
That's a whole, Cole. That's a whole of the rabbit hole we could go down.
That's a whole business.
Yeah, here's the thing. We heard Sankey on Monday at SEC Media Days, and my takeaway from that was, I was like, this doesn't feel like a guy to me that is really in control. There's somebody behind the scenes pulling the strings. I don't really feel like Greg Sankey is in control of all this. He's not.
I don't really think he cares of anyone thing. Again, I think two things can be true at once. He's doing his job to better his league. Is it better for the overall sport at times? Probably not.
Right.
But he's not paid to make the sport better.
Right.
No, he's paid to make the SEC better.
Right. And maybe this is why we need a damn college football commissioner, like we've been talking about for so long.
Go get Peyton Manning, man. I'm done with this.
And
go get the sheriff.
And respectfully, we need a commissioner, not from somebody on Twitter. We need somebody who maybe has coached or been an administrator or something like that actually understands. All due respect. I'm not taking a shot at anybody. I'm just saying, let's go get somebody who understands the inner workings, the business side of it, that can resolve this thing.
I'll tell you who I want, just because of the true answer of David and Goliath. I want Chris Peterson. I would love if Chris Peterson could be the commissioner of college football.
Yeah, he wouldn't be bad.
Man, dude beat Oklahoma with Boise State and proved it.
I don't know if that's why he should be the head of the
That's it. That's the reason.
That's it.
No,
Not
he's a smart,
watch
intellectual guy.
That man had the stones to run the Statue of Liberty play.
Yeah, Peterson's he's one of the greatest of all time.
Dave, did you not see him call that hook and ladder?
I mean, dude, you give him the commissioner. He should be the commissioner.
I can call it mean hook and ladder.
The Statue of Liberty and the history of Cinderella
greatest play call in the history of college football, right there.
He's going to fix the sport. That will be
no doubt.
And it's not an SEC guy. There we go. Look, we're not biased.
I'll leave it with this. I know SEC. This will fall on deaf ears, and do whatever you want. Like, I don't care. But like, if you want to shut people like Curt Cignetti up, Rhett, Lashlee, some of these others in these other conferences, the SEC needs to go whoop some ass this season. Like, you need to go beat Ohio State. You need to go beat Clemson. You need to go do it on the field, because you can handle all this if you take care of your business on the field. So pull wherever you want. But listen, if we're all honest with ourselves, I think SEC fans take pride in the fact, like, you're not pulling for your rivals to win. Don't get me wrong. There's no A&M fans pulling for Texas to beat Ohio State. But I think if we're all honest with ourselves, SEC fans like that ego stroke that, yeah, we're in the best conference in college football. It's like, if you want it to stay that way, the SEC needs to go win. They need to go beat some teams from some of these other conferences, stop these conversations really quick. I think that'll at least be the start of it. Complete it in Miami in a national championship. Those conversations will change rather quickly. All right. We got some news and notes to get into, guys. Before we do, though, I want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel, because as always, we're brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook here to help you make every moment more. The app is safe, secure, and super easy to use. If you already have an account, FanDuel Sportsbook offers great promotions every day to all users with things like Profit Boost tokens, new features like Parlay Hub, build your own same-game parlay, or choose from one of the popular SGPs already made for you in the Parlay Hub. If you haven't signed up yet, go to FanDuel.com/SECU to learn more. You'll get your $250 deposit bonus when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, FanDuel.com/SECU. Get into the action with offers you won't want to miss. And guys, college football season is just around the corner, but they got everything. MLB's in full swing right now. NBA will be here before you know it. Heck, NFL 1 week from today. We got preseason football in the NFL. You want to go bet on that. Also, there's preseason props. There's preseason win totals, spreads, totals, parlays, like I mentioned. Everything you can think of, fight night, every single sport. They've got it over at FanDuel. Once again, sign up, FanDuel.com/SECU to get that $250 deposit bonus when you win your first $5 bet. Guys, once again, we got some news and notes to get into really quickly. Let's start with this. This one comes out this morning from the Sports Business Journal. Tweet says, realignment watch. And this is something, by the way, guys, I teased earlier. We've been hearing about this for a while, but it resurfaced this morning. Realignment watch. Sources say UNC is among the schools exploring a potential move from the ACC, with the SEC as the likely target. Under Chancellor Lee Roberts and incoming AD Steve Newmark, the Tar Heels could be leading the pack alongside Clemson. This comes via at Inside Carolina. Guys, what do we think about UNC and Clemson potentially?
Isn't that when their ACC deal's up?
I would imagine so.
I mean, that would make sense. Yeah.
Unless they want to pay the hundreds of millions of dollars to make it happen a few years
I think about 2030. It's like you said, CB, when people kind of saw this kind of coming in. If that's when their ACC deal's up, that would.
Well, because you think about it, when did we get the announcement that Texas and OU were joining the SEC? That was 2021, right?
Yeah.
That was 3 years before it happened. So we're in 2025 right now. So we're getting kind of close to when an announcement like that would make sense.
Yeah.
So thoughts on, love it, hate it, opinions on UNC Clemson joining the league?
I've just kind of accepted expansion. Right. You could add worse teams. If you're going to pick the two out of the ACC, those are probably. Yeah,
I think from a business perspective, North Carolina makes a ton of sense. Well, that, and also you gain market share. The entire state of North Carolina becomes SEC country. I thought, Clemson makes sense from they feel like an SEC school in the ACC. I thought they'd go more the state of Virginia and try to get UVA or Virginia Tech, because once again, it's about gaining market share. I
don't even think the market stuff's that big anymore, because how many people stream?
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, I'm just talking about territory wise. of
I mean,
where you're kind of
Clemson going to
planting
the
flag.
ACC, to your point, makes sense. I mean, it's essentially Auburn on a lake, and they already have their big in-state rivals in the league.
Big stadium, you go there, it's got an SEC atmosphere kind of feel to it.
They've played numerous of these, like a number, I should say, of these SEC teams in big games before. They recruit against them every year. Like you said, that'll be a natural
revenue too of what you bring in per year. North Carolina and Clemson bring in ample sums of money in the ACC. So give a lot of credit to them. I think that for me personally, I don't like it. And the only reason I don't like it is because I still want there to be these 4 conferences, because I was not a fan of when we got rid of the Pac-12 and then said, oh, you know what? Here's going to be the Big Ten. We got teams all the way out in Piscataway, New Jersey, and then you're going to go on a transcontinental flight all the way down to Los Angeles, California, and that is going to be a conference game. So I'm not a fan of it, but I've accepted that this is going to become the new norm. It's 2 teams that I think add tremendous value in terms of likability or hateability. Also, when it comes to the level of competition, I think it will elevate it. And we've already kind of talked about what Clemson and Florida State are going to be. Florida State has made it clear that they want out of their media rights deal in 2031 as well. So the second that a team tries to join with the Big Ten, whether it be Florida State and Miami, you counteract it and you bring in teams that are still in the southern region. Clemson, North Carolina make a lot of sense. I think there needs to be a cap at certain points where you don't just let in everybody. So, hey, they're adding in these teams from the ACC, so now you're going to add in 2 more. So Duke and NC State are going to bring you in.
I mean, I think at some point, Barry, you're going to go to 2 super leagues.
So that's the point, is that eventually we're just going to get to that vicinity.
That's what it'll be.
Back from the Big 12. But I'm not saying that I'm for it. You could have 2 teams that I would at least be excited to see. I think Chapel Hill is a great environment. I think that adding in that SEC money would allow you to build up the stadium a little bit more. And then we already know what you got in Death Valley out in Clemson, South Carolina, and what that matchup would be. Plus, you already have the in-state rivalry there. So you're adding in expansion without going outside your geographical location. You're adding in a team that already has ties to the conference because of South Carolina. And it does strengthen your overall conference in terms of the prominent teams that you're adding on it. So it's not the worst, just not my favorite.
I mean, I'll say this too. I don't know if by the time this happens, I doubt he's there, but I just imagine going to SEC Media Days and hearing Bill Belichick at the podium.
He's not going to be there in 2 years.
I know. I can wish so.
Can we get him in next year then, just to have him for 1 year?
Can we get
Steve
Bear? Can we get you to ask him a question in his own native tongue?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Hey, Coach, I'm going to
Coach Thompson from SC Unfiltered. Just want to get your opinion on what do you think of the quarterback position. Just very excited to see what you are, and then watch him freak out.
And then we can start selling merch. It's like cut off hoodies or whatever, like have holes in it, and
SEC Unfiltered.
We can have a shirt that says "quote We're not talking about this," with credit to Jordan, whatever her name is.
Hudson.
The
3rd Miss Runner-up in the state of Maine for Miss Maine.
Yes. Whatever. Anyways, we'd love to hear you guys' thoughts. UNC, Clemson, we'll see. It's you know why I don't really get so worked up over a lot of the college football news, guys, is because most of the college football news is stuff that hasn't happened yet. It's just like reportedly this is going to happen. It's like, well, what if it doesn't happen? And what did I get all worked up about? You know, I don't know. That just kind of struck me just now. Something that did happen though today. That again, weird day for headlines. Today, President Donald Trump. President Trump saving college football, guys.
My favorite's the title of it.
President Donald Trump has signed a college sports executive order that prohibits third-party pay-for-play payments to college athletes. Titled, President Donald J. Trump Saves College Sports. This is from the article that On3 posted. It says the executive order prohibits third-party pay-for-play payments, but does not apply
third party.
Does not apply.
Dude, it tells us nothing. Nobody. No. It's literally like he woke up and said, "Again, I'll tell you, I voted for Donald Trump. This isn't like a bashing Donald Trump thing. It's you woke up and said, I'm for world peace. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, everybody is, but how are we going to go about that? Like, it's just like, yeah, I think we need to have more order in college football. I'm signing an executive order. It's like, no more pay for play. It's like, okay, yeah, buddy, nobody's against that. How are we going to go operate that? The NCAA has about as much teeth as us three combined doing this show tonight. Who's going to enforce this?
Yeah, so that was addressed. That was addressed in the article, Dave. It says, again, prohibits third-party pay-for-play payments, but, quote, does not apply to legitimate fair market value compensation that the third party provides to an athlete, such as for a brand endorsement, end quote, according to the White House's release. Again, this feels like an article from The Onion. It is unknown what entity will have the authority to enforce the prohibition of third-party pay-for-play payments included in Trump's executive order. It's like you said.
I mean, his executive order is just like, welcome to the college football conversation, Mr. President.
That's actually so funny that you literally asked the question, who's going to enforce it? It's unknown what entity will enforce it.
Nobody knows.
It's here.
I would like to give a shout out to our friend Josh Manning, who, by the way, gave us $4.99 in the tip jar. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Josh. Yeah, Joshy.
But Josh, here's a visual representation of what is going on currently in the White House right now. Hey, look away. Look away from the Epstein files. Let's go fix college football. Let's go sue Stephen Colbert. Let's go sue Supper. Look away from everything else. Look away. That's what's going on. Like, it literally is just jingling the keys and trying to turn attention away from his name being mentioned something. What's it gonna do? Like, honestly, until I see it in action, I don't. Okay, cool. It happened. But good for you, Donnie J, for saving college football sports, I guess. Thank you. By the way, I will say it is far and away the best name of a bill I've ever seen.
President Donald J. Trump saves college sports.
Saves college sports.
I love the executive
That's
order.
Can that be my Halloween costume? I'm not just like what version of President Donald J. Trump. I'm the version that saves college sports. We're saving college sports.
Let's have your keys. Jingle them in front of everybody.
Bear, you make a really good point. Like, we have actual like real issues, and I'm not a political person at all, but we have like real issues in the world. And like Dave said, he woke up and was like, I'm going to save college sports today. By doing.
You saw when he went and talked to the University of Alabama's graduation, it's like he's up there. He's like, I'm going to start this new commission, and he just tells Nick Saban he's on it, and then Nick Saban's like the next day, like, I don't think we need a commission.
He's like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Something I don't think we need. Like,
speaking of Alabama, did you see what Greg Byrne had to say about the Trump executive order?
I haven't seen what Gregory is saying.
Gregory posted this 2 hours ago. Quote, the University of Alabama applauds this executive order from President Trump to help ensure a long-term sustainable model of intercollegiate athletics. We are proud of our broad-based athletics programs and strongly support future regulatory and congressional action that will preserve these opportunities for student athletes. End quote. What in the AI was that, Greg?
Dude, that seems like it's very – I feel like Trump's been to a lot of Alabama games. But like even at neutral sites in Atlanta, and they probably keep up a good bit. And it's just like, I'm just going to retweet this, put this out. I don't even know. He didn't really say a lot, but sure.
Keep up good face with Donald, so he'll come back. Oh, God. What a time. Okay, let's move on from this. Guys, something that we don't have any official news on it, but has been pressing and really just a wild offseason story. Tennessee's Boo Carter is just gone. Nobody really knows where he is or what he's doing. Shout out to the person who threw this screenshot on the Twitter timeline from Austin Price over, I'd assume this is like Vols Quest or something like that. Apparently, Boo, this is what Austin Price said. Boo went out to California over the weekend. His family and Cooper, you know who Cooper is, Dave?
Say that again. Sorry.
Cooper, who works for Tennessee. I don't know. Anyway, so he said his family and Cooper have been in talks, but they haven't fired their current agent at this point. Boo has to do the little things better. He can't just go to Colorado at this juncture unless there's some deal I don't know about. He isn't a grad transfer. There's a path to him being on this team, but he has burned some bridges with his teammates by not showing up and being late, causing more running for others and such. It's a complex deal, but one Tennessee will eventually have to make a decision with. So apparently Boo Carter's just not showing up to shit.
I think Cooper's is an analyst.
Okay. Well, anyways, Boo Carter's just not showing up to shit.
He's out in California. I think. Again, I don't know much about this.
And then the rumor, again, this is all Twitter, so just take it for what it's worth, that he's in a gang or something. I mean, guys, like here's a bigger question. What is going on Rocky Top? Or as the Burners would say, what is going on in Gatlinburg?
There's got to be a little bit of a – this is me looking at it from 35,000-foot view. I don't – I mean, I remember Boo Carter as a recruit. I mean, he came from kind of a rough area, Chattanooga. But last we heard he was in California. I mean, this is weird. This doesn't seem – at least this publicly stuff – this happens with other teams, but it's not this public. And especially this – it's always weird timing for Tennessee. It's like right at the end of spring with Nico, a week before you start fall camp for Tennessee with Boo Carter. I don't know. I think Boo's a little bit of an emotional kid, but yeah, I mean, this just looks like Tennessee kind of has a consistent gap in communication from their collective and kind of the football program, it seems. Again, I don't want to speak on it because I don't know a lot about this situation, but it's just, I mean, it's just strange this close to the year.
Apparently, it says in an article released by Knoxville News that this, if things have not changed, Josh Heupel is expected to address Carter's status at UT's on-campus, well, Tennessee's in this article. Tennessee's on-campus media day on July the 29th. Fall camp for them begins July 30th, literally less than a week from today. So,
yeah, Josh.
How big of a loss? How big of a loss if he's just not on the team this year? How big of a loss would that be? I mean, he's one of their top DBs.
Yeah, that's a loss.
I mean, it's a loss, sure.
Yeah, for sure on a defense that has already lost a decent bit, but still should be solid.
It's strange, and it's somewhat of a problem only because of what Jamal McCoy potentially missing the very beginning of the year. You expected for Boo Carter to be that guy. Now, I'm not saying that it's a death sentence. I'm not saying that his absence will cost Tennessee whatever their record was going to be with him in there. It's not as big as I think Nico Iamaleava in terms of what your quarterback was and how your offensive quarterback.
Yeah.
But still, it's a bad look. I mean, like, it just is. It's a struggling look because of this. Again, feels like you should be in a positive direction if you're Tennessee. I mean, think about this. Tennessee for the last decade before Josh Heupel arrived was a bottom dweller and an underwhelming team in the conference. They never were able to meet the expectations set by Philip Fulmer and what was the standard of volunteer football. And then they bring in Heupel, and Heupel gets them to a 10-plus win season with Hendon Hooker as a starting quarterback, and they start doing a lot better on the recruiting trail, and they start turning into a pretty good transfer portal destination, and they're fresh off of being in the college football playoff in a 10-win season, and they've beaten Alabama 2 out of the last 3 years, which is a major rival, and it feels like that things are trending upward for a program that has a very proud and loyal fan base. One that we need to talk about in a more, I think, deserving light of having good things, because if they have never left the Volunteers, like even as dark as times have gotten in Neyland, they have always been loyal to a team. What?
Why would they leave their fan base?
But I'm saying, like, you've seen fan bases kind of dwindle towards baseball or dwindle towards basketball. Like, Tennessee fans have always shown out in Neyland Stadium. And it's just, to me, it's one of those fan bases that I want to see have more success because of how loyal they are. And it just feels like going into this offseason, last year was more so of the outlier from what we're used to seeing. And that's where it's a little bit heart-wrenching because of...
I don't feel bad for them. CPU to test, they probably have the best big three athletics in the entire league. Tennessee fans are spoiled as hell. They're good baseball.
Yeah, they were in the gutter football-wise for a while. I was going to ask you, though, Dave. You have the best perspective in us. Your father-in-law is a Tennessee fan. Do Tennessee fans deserve more? Are they...
Dude, they're kind of spoiled. I mean, they're good in everything. I mean, they're good in every big three sport. This is the fan base that doesn't like Rick Barnes for whatever reason. So I don't know that, but yeah, I don't think they've had no reason not to go anywhere. They're usually pretty good in everything. I don't know. Like, I don't really think this has anything to do with their fans. I think it's just a Boo Carter incident.
I'm not talking about it from their fans. I'm talking about it from the sense of, you should feel like that this is a team that's turning the corner after being fresh out of a college football playoff. And now I'm sitting here and wondering, how much worse is it going to get this year for them? Because if you already lost your starting quarterback, you've already lost. I mean, it feels like that a guy in Boo Carter, remember, there was a point.
Bears right at this point. They're due to lose somebody in November.
And like he was supposed to be somebody that went to the transfer portal. They brought him back. Mike Matthews flirted around with the transfer portal and you brought him back. And so it feels like that this is a team that even with all the highs, everything is fixated on, now the negatives. And I shouldn't feel that way about a team that went 10-2 last year.
Bear's right a little bit. It doesn't feel like Tennessee, like people forget they did make the playoffs last year. Like how bad they got beat by Ohio State kind of hurts that perception a little bit from last year. They are that team that you forget at times that but if you watched them, you didn't feel that way offensively. Yeah. No, I agree. I just think there's kind of Bear's right. Like you've kind of heard more of their, at least publicly, than other teams, their issues with nailing down contracts and getting kids committed. But you hear Heupel say this is one of the best leadership teams I've had. But it's like, well, I mean, Bear brought up another good one. Mike Matthews was kind of a holdout for a little bit in that winter portal, and they finally got that fixed. But for whatever reason, I mean, I don't know. There's plenty of playing time there for him. That's what I'm saying. I hate to say this because I could be totally wrong. Usually the things I say when I'm talking about sources, I feel like I'm pretty right. I'm pretty spot on. This one's just a guess. It just feels like there's just kind of a lost in communication between the Spire company they kind of have running their collective. I believe that's their name. And then just the football department.
I won't make any judgment calls until we actually see what happens when camp begins. I think that if he shows on up again,
I don't know how you bring him back.
Again, that's a Heupel thing. That's not a that's.
Well, and I mean, listen,
Coach Shumate ain't bringing him back.
Well, listen, and if Heupel stands on what he said before, what'd he say?
Well,
nobody's bigger in the power T.
If you let Nico walk, you gotta let.
Yeah. What did he say? Nobody's bigger in the power T.
Yeah.
If Boo Carter's skipping out on, the only thing I'll say about are they voluntary summer workouts, Dave? Technically, you don't technically, right?
It's not as loose.
Right. Well, if you've coached or been around it, or certainly if you've played, that even when they say
playing,
they're voluntary if you want to play.
Yeah.
Especially if you're supposed to be a leader on the team and a veteran and a contributor, they're voluntary. You better voluntarily show your ass up, or you ain't gonna see the field. And apparently that's what they said. The team leaders have been getting on his ass, and
if your own teammates confront you and you still leave, dude, get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Well, at that point, that's where you're at. That's the problem.
That's where you're at. So to me, he's gone. Let's find another nickel. But Bear makes a good point too. They're going to be pretty thin at the beginning of the year. They got to find another nickel with Boo, and Cole's right too. Jamad McCoy's out early in the year. So it's something to keep in mind.
Side note. Did anybody have a worse offseason than Tennessee? Because Bear, you make a fantastic point. It doesn't feel like they made the playoff less than 12 months ago.
From contending teams, no, but let's be real. What happened to Cal? Cal had a bad off.
Right. I think that's a good caveat. Yeah, contending teams. I mean, was there somebody that had a worse offseason? Yeah, probably.
Cal had a very
but certainly of the 12 teams that were in the playoff last year, nobody lost more steam than Tennessee did. Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody. Okay, last one, guys. Last note, we got Eli Drinkwitz gets an extension. Really briefly, I just thought it was really funny because yesterday I dropped my hot seat tears for the 2025 SEC football season. All the coaches, obviously. I had Eli Drinkwitz in the untouchable category, and there were some folks that pushed back on that. Less than 24 hours later, he gets an extension. So kind of speaks for itself.
Not sure. I mean, I'm not shocked.
This
is a smart move. Who else are you going to go get? It's kind of comfortable in his own skin there.
Dude, he's the perfect fit for them.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a no. Yeah,
he brings notoriety to Mizzou. I don't know that SEC fans would get. I mean, to all the Mizzou fans listening and watching, I don't mean any offense by this. I just don't think SEC fans would give a damn about Mizzou otherwise.
Yeah. No, I mean,
outside of if they're on their schedule. I mean,
I think it's a good move, but I think it's a good move for both parties here. Now, he didn't get a raise. It's just an extension.
Right.
But what he did get was more money added in for his coaching staff, which I think is good.
That's normal.
But what's so good about that is they're saying we've already seen the proof of concept. Invest on however you got to make sure that you retain whatever it takes to keep the same.
Well, you never know too. That could have been Drink kind of being like, I don't need a raise. I make it just put it in my salary, my assistant coaching salary.
But there's two things that I think really stand out with this. Number one, Eli Drinkwitz and Mizzou go together perfectly because of both are kind of viewed as these outliers in the SEC. Like, people don't respect Missouri. There's people that laugh at what Eli Drinkwitz is, but they're the most authentic versions of themselves. And they constantly don't care what the outside noise says. They're going to show on up and they're going to deliver and they're going to prove to you why we belong in a conference that talks highly as one that is viewed as the best in college football. And the results speak for themselves, whether it be in the portal, whether it be in the recruiting, whether it be in the development of talent. Back-to-back 10-plus win seasons. I mean, that's what he has right now. Now, it took him a while to get there, and it didn't allow him to hire a guy in Kirby Moore to take over the offense to really get the ball rolling. But if he does it a third straight year, I mean, we're talking about 30 wins in 3 seasons.
Bear, where do you rank him in the SEC coaches?
I would go 6 or 7 right now. I think that's a fair. I think that's a fair conversation. Well, the top 5 naturally for me, it's.
Or no, who you just putting ahead of it? Who you putting him ahead of?
Oh, like Beamer and him would be like right in that same range. I think him, and then I think he's ahead of Elko. I think he's ahead of Napier. Heupel is probably slightly ahead of him because he's made the college football playoff, but it's like him and Heupel and Beamer are like right in this range of each other because I got my top 5 already set. So, but
does he leave Mizzou as the greatest Missouri head coach of all time?
Wouldn't go that far. Yeah.
I wouldn't go that far, but he could.
Who is the greatest head coach in Mizzou history?
Gary Pinkel deserves some respect.
Yeah.
Farote deserves some respect. I think Pinkel for what he did when he was in the
Pinkel was a hell of a coach.
Pinkel's kind of the opposite of Drink from a personality standpoint.
Oh yeah, dry as all hell. But still, he won, and
those Chase Daniel teams were fun.
But also remember when
James Franklin,
Jeremy Macklin, right?
But remember when they joined the SEC, it was, oh, look, Texas A&M is coming, and I guess we'll take Missouri. And then Missouri in its second year played in the SEC championship, and Texas A&M still hasn't played in it. And Missouri's been to 2 SEC championships.
Now, to be fair, Bear, A&M was in the harder division.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that based off of what the metrics say, the metrics are they made it twice and you didn't. No, again,
really did have some went through it for a little bit there.
That's what I'm saying.
The SEC East was at one point just going.
It was the cluster.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, it was. The West was so much better than the East at one point.
But I like the fact that you hired a guy that fits what is supposed to be Mizzou. Just outdated, out of left field. People don't respect it as a team of the SEC. People make fun of Eli Drinkwitz all the time. It's a good fit, and they just prove results. And I saw a comment earlier, who was the sleeper team in the SEC for you guys this year? It's Missouri for me. And the reason why is because we have no idea what to expect. But I'll tell you what, I'm not doubting Eli Drinkwitz. I'm not.
You don't doubt him, Bear.
I'm not doubting him. I refuse to doubt him.
Bear's going to believe in Drink until he hits that drum.
Why the hell would I? Yeah, even when I hit the drum, then I'm going to become a full-fledged screw Alabama. I'm just going to be a Mizzou fan at this point. You let me bang that drum, I am fully invested into what goes on with the Tiger country. I don't know. It's a good move because also the buyout, he didn't raise his money, so the buyout is going to be the same even if he was going anywhere. I think it's just another step of showing, hey, you can make the phone call to bring me on in for an interview, but I'm pretty content where I'm at.
I think in today's time, you got to have stability. You don't want to be paying people. You don't want to be paying coaching staffs, hiring a new coaching staff, paying for a ride. I mean, again, I think in today's time, guys, it wouldn't shock me if we only saw maybe one change this year in the SEC, which would be wild. In a 2-year span, we only have one coach. You looking at these buyouts of these coaches. Brian Kelly, $61 million. I mean, even at 7-5, I don't think
the agents are the real MVPs.
Oh yeah, just take
the agents are insane.
But I mean, $61 million for BK. 28? I think for
34 for Stoops or something like that.
Yeah, and then you got Freeze is at 21. The lowest one that makes sense is Pittman's. I think it's 7 or 8. Which you've added potentially his retirement factor. He's the guy I would bet. But I mean, dude, unless it's bleeding out or it's just terrible, dude, you're going to the same well outside of your rev share that to go pay these players through the collective, now maybe back under the black market. These guys also are paying for the firing and hiring of your new coaches and staff. You can't just keep going to the same people. So at some point it's got to be I don't know, maybe we just out-roster manage people and we have just a decent head coach. But you just can't be – I mean, it's a true business now how these teams are set up. You can't just be flushing $20 million plus these other buyouts and stuff down the drain.
Maybe I'm blanking. Who was the biggest hiring of the offseason, head coach-wise?
In all of college football?
In all of college football.
Belichick.
I'll say probably Belichick.
Okay, outside of him. See, isn't that weird? Normally, there's like a few of those that are like, man, there was some.
Yeah, think about it. The SEC, no change. I mean, in the Big Ten, you had what, Purdue? I mean, Barry Odom went to
Purdue. Dan Mullen going to UNLV.
Yeah, I mean, Dan Mullen and UNLV would be in that conversation. I agree. I mean, there wasn't a lot of move. There wasn't much movement.
It kind of wasn't just an SEC thing. It was like a college football.
I will say Jake Dicker leaving as soon as Dave Walker retired and to go to Wake Forest.
Yeah.
And then leaving right after he realized my quarterback, all that. And then they bring in Jimmy Rogers from South Dakota. From South Dakota State. So it's like, there's a couple of teams that I think deserve some respect. Jason Eck is one that I really, really like from his time at Idaho going to New Mexico.
Yeah. Either way, there's just Power 4. There was not a lot of.
I'm trying to think. There was nobody in the Big 12 this past offseason either. I don't think that got fired. Oh no, my bad. Rich Rod going back to West Virginia.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Rich Rod going back to West Virginia is probably the biggest hire, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, the most notable, definitely Belichick.
Yeah. The most notable is Belichick, but I would say probably the biggest one is Rich Rod going back.
Guys, last thing.
To my point, that's why I'm not as sold as y'all are that Freeze gets fired if he wins 7 games. I don't know if they'll do. I just don't.
No, I think they'd probably have to miss a bowl
essentially,
game.
If you did that, you would be terrible next year.
Yeah, they'd probably have to miss a bowl game. Guys, if you could, if you had the power to do so, would you go back to East and West divisions, or stay one big?
Like divisions.
Divisions.
Now it doesn't make much sense now, but I did like divisions.
Divisions were fun.
It was always cool. Kind of go. Who do you think's gonna win the East? Who do you think's gonna win the West? I was like, do you remember how lame the Big Ten's divisions were when they first started? Legends and Leaders.
No, they suck.
Oh, it was awful.
God. He was like the guy who barely had any muscles coming in with a tight T-shirt into your place like Innisfree or something.
I would not go back to divisions, but I really want a 3-team rival. I want that to be a part of it. And then you do the rotation with the other 6 teams. I think of that. I want there to be the Alabama versus LSU, Tennessee, and Auburn every year. No,
you don't miss Bama playing Mississippi State every year.
That's a total screw job of a schedule. If those are my 3 common opponents every year,
who?
If it's LSU, Auburn, and Tennessee, nobody has harder 3 common opponents in a year than you. See, I think Bama would end up dropping LSU.
Probably, but I would say
I think Greg Byrne would be like, hold up now. These are the 3 teams are playing. Chris, you remember Spurrier used to bitch about it. Kind of like he used to bitch like, man, we always used to get X, Y, and Z. And it's like, well, Steve, when you were at Florida, LSU sucked, brother.
Well, that's the thing is that okay, but think about it. You would have for Tennessee, it would be Georgia, it would be Florida, and Vandy. Those would be their 3.
Wow, Alabama. They'd probably take Florida off for Tennessee and put Bama. Because Florida and Tennessee, let's be honest, Florida and Tennessee aren't traditional rivals.
So they would keep Tennessee and Georgia, you think?
Over Florida, I think. Because they played the Georgia game a lot longer.
Maybe.
Think about it. Florida, Tennessee was not a thing until the 90s. They didn't play until they started becoming they had to.
Yeah, but then when you've looked over the last 20 years, the fact that we have seen better Tennessee teams and better Florida teams, but it doesn't matter. They can't win in the swamp. I mean, that to me is always just something that I look forward to every year. That was another game that we could have mentioned. Tennessee versus
I was literally about to say that.
On this, Florida, Auburn. That used to be a pretty regular occurrence. We don't get that much. For Auburn, Tennessee, we don't get much. And they used to play every year.
Also, as a selfish person from the state of Texas, I want Oklahoma. I want the Red River Shootout, and I want Texas and Texas A&M to play against each other. So then
I don't think those will go away.
I just want Georgia to go to College Station.
Another one, LSU Auburn. That's one we probably won't ever get.
Yeah, I miss LSU Auburn was a fun game. Like I said, I just want Georgia to go to College Station. Never have.
They never have.
It's weird.
Weird.
They've only played one time.
They will. They will. If they keep this current schedule model, they will either next year or in 2027.
Yeah, they'll have to. If they don't play next, there's something up. Somebody has pictures of somebody. There's
where are the bodies, Garth? That's what we're seeing at this point.
All right, let's put a pin in it, boys. And guys, just to tease this, maybe starting next week, we'll have some segments for this show. I think we need some segments at the end of the show. Maybe I don't know. We'll talk with the comrades here. Something fun towards the end to lighten the mood and send us all out on a happy note. Not that we're not already, but just something to have some fun. Anyways, guys, appreciate you all. Dave, Cole, it's always a pleasure. This was a lot of fun. Once again, guys, this is the Overtime Drive. Every Monday and Thursday, you can catch us right here, 8 o'clock Central. As we get closer to the season and, of course, into the season, our Sunday Fun Day show will roll out as well. We'll be live every single Sunday. First one, actually, Dave and I, funny enough, we're talking about this today. First one will be the Sunday after the Week 0 slate, and then we'll be live every single Sunday. Time TBD, though, talking with you guys, breaking down everything that took place on college football Saturday. So, season's around the corner. Content's bleeding out of the eyeballs. And again, we appreciate each and every single one of you. As always, guys, make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast. Where we get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. For Dave Shumate and Cole Thompson, I'm Chris Phillips. This is the Overtime Drive, SEC Unfiltered's SEC football show, the best SEC football show on the internet. Till Monday, y'all take care. Have a great weekend. We will talk to you on Monday night. Cheers.